Interesting things that has happened to me, and it's happened many times, was that when I would go out to feed them sugar water, bees have pattern recognition. They know the shape of a flower versus my face versus your face. I go out there and I put this sugar water in their hive, and I walk away and go do something else. So I'm in my shop, and right after I fed them this one time, and this honeybee came into my shop, and it was like, just flying around real slow, you can tell their behavior, like they're going, zzz, and they're upset, like investigating. What is, and so I held out my hand. For some reason, I just held out my hand like this, because it was just flying here, and then it landed in the palm of my hand. And so I'm there looking at it, and it started walking around my hand, sniffing around, up my arm, and then back to my hand, then it flew up and then left, and I'm thinking, that's amazing, I mean, that's never happened to me before in my life. I've never had that experience. And so, and then when it happened the second time, I think, okay, this, there's something here. Come out, and I'm thinking, they want me to feed them.
So, honeybees have literally changed my life. When I beekeep with my dad, if I were solo beekeeping, my dad maybe has to go to work or something like that, it would take me maybe 3 times as long, because not only do I, like when I lift the lid of any beehive, it stimulates every single sense that I have. So I smell it, I hear it, I feel the vibration on the frames when I pick them up. I've definitely been caught talking to my bees, absolutely. I love that they're almost all female, so I just love that. Girl power is such a cool thing with beekeeping. When I was pregnant, I swear that these hormones that I was making in my own body, they could sense it, and they would land on me more so than they ever did before. And I just felt this magic of being a pregnant beekeeper was so cool. But I definitely love my bees, and I feel like, especially when I was pregnant, they had some kind of recognition with me, even though I've got a ton of different colonies and they each have a different pheromone with their individual queen. But as a pregnant woman, it felt like I was a queen too, and so I felt like they all kind of supported that. But I just love them, and so I'm always taking pictures of them and talking, and my dad will be like, we gotta get to the next jar, and I'm like, okay, hold on, look at this one, she's doing this, or she's on my hand, let me just take a picture. And so my dad just kind of laughs a little bit, and he'll wait for me. But it's definitely I mean, they're like little fairies. How could you not see the magic in them? So
So you have to think like a bee, more or less. You have to understand the language, you have to understand their needs, you have to actually be able to see or get used to see the normal. So when you see the abnormal, it will just jump to your eyes and you will be able to see it. I think that that's very important. You have to be very careful and be very aware of minimum detail. I mean, the bees are small, and all the pests and diseases and problems that they have are far smaller than they are. So you have to be able to see that with the naked eye.
All the mistakes. I started with one colony. You should start with more than one. And I lost that one, or pretty much lost it. And an attorney in town, whom I knew, Doug Woodworth, he helped me get started again. He gave me a colony of his that he says really wasn't amounting to much, but if I wanted them, I could have them. And when I looked at them, and he said this was a kind of a sorry colony, and when I looked at them and saw by comparison to what I had, I didn't even have a sorry colony. I just had a box with a few handfuls of bees in it. Off a horse and don't get right back on, you probably don't.
bees, they're not good for us. A lot of farmers, especially right down here, that spray with abandon.
Last winter they all disappeared. Well, colony collapse disorder is what we call it when we don't know what it is. When the hive is just empty, the bees are gone. And each one of these hives had 2 deeps, and all but one of them had 2 full supers on top of them because I didn't harvest anything. I left it there because my priority was to get those hives through the winter. And I went up there in getting ready for my classes for last spring or late winter. I went up there about the last week in January, and there were bees flying everywhere. And 2 weeks later, I went up before my class and didn't see any bees. And I suited up and opened the hive, no bees came out. And I found a little handful of dead bees in each hive, and that was all. A lot of people put the blame on the systemic pesticides because, of course, the bees that ingest it don't get back to the hive. You never find pesticides in the hive because the bees that ingest the pesticides don't get home with it. Apparently, they disrupt the insect's memory.
Right.
Somewhere I read that, a caterpillar that consumes that stuff will forget to eat.
Everyone was throwing chemicals at these bees, trying to keep them alive. Or they would stay alive, but they weren't doing well. They were just kind of limping along. Normally, they would have died. I'm not doing anything. If they die, then I'll just get another hive. And eventually, I'm going to find a hive that's resistant. And that's the kind of, a strong hive that doesn't need to be treated is the kind of hive I want. And when they had Varroa hit in Europe, they didn't go like in the U.S., treating with antibiotics and all this stuff. They said, well, 90% of their bees died. Well, they died. And then the 10%, eventually got resistant to the mite. And they got over that Varroa hump very quickly.
Colony collapse disorder is basically a syndrome. It's a bunch of things that happen. You have Varroa mites, you have nosema, you have the way we manage the bees, you have the pollination industry, you have the artificial diet that you give to bees, you have the monoculture. There are many factors that affect the bees as we manage them now massively, especially for the pollinating industry. They are absolutely necessary for food security, but I would like to see is that actually bees will do a high percentage of that cleaning and that removal of pests and things. And then we intervene if need be. There has to be a dialogue in between the industries. So there is an understanding of what is going on, and the chemical industry and the beekeeping industry have to find a viable solution, because otherwise it's a conflict, not a solution.
We have 1 billion people to feed on this planet. So completely eliminating all pesticides, I think, is probably not even a reality, but we have to appreciate the bees, work with them, and work with each other to make a difference and sustain everybody.
So all the beekeepers, if you educate yourself and you take the time to understand, the research and the science and how to take care of your bees properly, I feel like that's an excellent resource for the public to understand.
The neonicotinoids, so I was pretty convinced that that's pretty terrible. And it's unfortunate because they were supposed to be a more environmentally friendly pesticide that didn't harm mammals. So I'm a sustainable agriculture person. Conventional organic might not be the best, but something needs to be different. But then, I do IPM for my own bees. So if I needed to give them antibiotics or something, I will, to keep them alive. But I'm not gonna, I don't give it to my hives every year in their food to increase their numbers or whatever they do for bees as livestock.
Is that we vote with our money. We really do. I believe in that firmly. And so when you go to the grocery store and you're supporting companies that our organic vegetables and vegetation and just organic foods in general, it's wonderful because you are supporting, no pesticide use, which we have a couple out yards that are by some fields that have sprayed, and we have seen losses in that yard specifically correlated to the spraying of the lettuce and the vegetation that are at the farms. But I think that just the more we educate ourselves and the more we talk about bees and the more we plant things for bees and the more we focus on the next generation, I think slowly but surely my generation, my newborn son's generation, I feel like hopefully we'll be able to either abolish some of those things or some of the really bad ones, or at least find new ways around it, new compromises, and reach a new balance. But sometimes I tell people there are little tricks you can do, like in that one yard we still have bees there, but when they're gonna spray, we've asked them to let us know, and when they do that you can run sprinklers on your hives, kind of make them think that it's raining, and little tips and tricks that we've learned over the years helped a little bit, but it is still it's still pretty awful, and I definitely don't advocate it, but I know that it's a tricky thing because sometimes those things can be necessary, so I can't really speak on it too much, but